And away we go. And so again, thank you, and welcome to our Celta webinar today. And not only will you learn about Celta, the course that we offer, you'll get a sneak peek at an input session. And I know that's what some of you are here for, right? Specifically for the mini input session that we're doing. And so you saw Rosie earlier. She'll be back in just a bit to our special guest to give you that nice input session. So yes, we are all here for the Celta Online course. Yes, that's what we're going to talk about. If you have questions about Celta in general, again, I'd be more than happy to answer. And again, specifically our online course. And so this is kind of our menu for our evening. And we'll just talk about who we are as university programs for just a bit. What is the Celta thing that we're all talking about? I'm sure you've all done your research, but again, if you have any questions, I'd be happy to answer. And some advantages or reasons to take the Celta with us. And then, of course, like I mentioned, we have the mini input session with our special guest, Rosie Elsman. Hello, Victor. Welcome, welcome. Glad to have you here. And then again, I have time for question and answers at the end, but feel free to jump in and ask questions as we go along. And prizes galore at the end, right? So if we hear at the end, I'm going to collect everyone's name and we are going to raffle off some great prizes. And so stick around. I don't want to spoil anything, but if you're here tonight, everyone's a winner, whatever that means. We'll find out in just a bit. So please do stick around, enjoy, and get all your questions answered about Celta Online. And so who are we? University programs. We actually work through International House Mexico, and we work with a lot of institutions across Latin America to provide teacher training, specifically the Cambridge Celta, and then later on, of course, the Delta certificates. And so we actually train about 4 to 5% of all Celta graduates worldwide each year. So we open courses about every 2 to 3 weeks. And we have the privilege of running about 35 to 40 courses every year. And so we've got a lot of experience with not just the Celta, but when the pandemic first hit, we were one of the centers to help Cambridge take everything online. And so we have a lot of experience on that side as well. And so that's kind of who we are as a center. Of course, we also offer English language classes to folks learning English. And we do have our university programs. Again, it's kind of our teacher training department. So we'll start anywhere from TKT to Celta, all the way on up through the Delta certificates. So that's who we are in a nutshell. I will be one of the presenters tonight. My name's Tim. I'm the head of university programs and teacher training development here at IH Mexico. I am a Cambridge Celta and Delta tutor, and as well as various other roles that I play here. And again, our special guest with us this evening is Rosie Elsman. She's been with us for quite some time. She's taught English all over the world. Yeah, it's quite interesting, all the pins in the map that she has. And she's working with us as a Celta tutor, as well as various other teacher training programs. And so when she's not doing Celta, her background and specialization is in business English and teaching for exams. And so she definitely keeps busy. So thank you very much, Rosie, for making time to be here with us tonight. And so what is the Celta? And so again, I'm sure you've all done your research, but Celta is a Cambridge initial teacher training qualification. In the UK Educational Curriculum Authority, it's a level 5, which is equivalent to a bachelor's or licenciatura here in Mexico. And it's very frequently sought after by many employers. One reason, because it's moderated, each and every single course is moderated by Cambridge, which means it follows a very specific syllabus with very clear criteria. Any general questions about the Celta? So far, so good. All right. And so let's talk a little bit about the aims of the course. We'll take a peek at the course syllabus, some of the main course components, and the flexible timetable options that we offer here with university programs. And so what is the main aim of the course? The main aim of Celta is not for you to become an expert teacher by the end of the course. Right? That is not the aim. The aim of the course is, again, it's initial teacher training course. And so it is here to lay a solid foundation for you to then continue to build your teaching practice on after the course. And so even though it's an initial teacher training program, it is made for folks who have no experience or little experience teaching English. Not to say that if you have experience teaching, you won't get something from this course, because you certainly will. Not only might it be a good refresher of frameworks, and right, if you've been doing anything for any period of time, you develop habits. And sometimes, right, these might not be good habits. And so it's nice to be refreshed and updated. And so again, whether you have experience or not, Celta is definitely a nice refresher, or again, a way to build a solid foundation for you to then continue building your teaching practice. And so what are the syllabus points of this course? We actually have these 5 topics here. And throughout the course, you'll learn the methodology, the teaching approaches. But the great thing about Celta is not only do you get to learn the methodology, the approaches, you also get to practice them in teaching practices with live students. And this is, again, another reason why employers like the Celta so much, is they understand if you've completed the Celta course successfully, not only do you have the knowledge of the theory, the methodology, the teaching approaches, but you've also had practice, right? Real life practice in a classroom with this content. And so these are the 5 main topic areas that'll be covered throughout the course. And what does it look like course-wise? And so this is what it looks like, the main components of the course. Again, I mentioned that you are required to do live teaching practice. And so what we've done here is you're required to do 6 hours at 2 different levels. And so we've broken this down into 8 45-minute teaching practice sessions. And this is where you'll get to practice, again, what you've learned theory-wise. And when we do these teaching practice sessions, how this normally goes, for example, is you would do your teaching practice, your peers would observe you, your peers would do their teaching practice, you would observe them. And then after we send the students home, we'll do some feedback on the lessons that were taught. After the feedback, we'll do some guided lesson planning to get you ready for the next lesson that you have to teach. And if there's a written assignment to be set, that gets set right at the end of the session. And so you'll see in the moment how we break down these teaching practices. And so when you meet for the live sessions for your teaching practice, this is generally how it goes. So you'll meet once or twice a week, depending on the course timetable, for about 4 hours to fulfill these 6 hours of required teaching. I brought up written assignments. There are 4 written assignments on the course, and we do need to complete all 4 of them. But written assignments are fairly straightforward because you have 2 opportunities to submit. And so if something's not quite right the first time, your tutor will leave some comments in the margins to let you know. You fix those up, you resubmit. In the eyes of Cambridge, these are pass-fail assignments. So pass on first submission or second submission is a pass. So you could treat that first submission like a rough draft. And if everything looks good, your tutor will say, great job, nothing left to do. Or if you do have to resubmit, again, your tutor will let you know exactly what you need to fix up. So you could fix it up, resubmit, and done deal. So written assignments are fairly straightforward on the course. And although they are written assignments as such, they're very practical in nature. For example, your first written assignment, you'll create a reading lesson from scratch. And this is something that you'd be able to use in the classroom after the course. Yeah. The second written assignment is all about language analysis, and you'll get a lot of practice with language analysis on the course, but this will help you identify and develop your ability to analyze language for various types of lessons. The third written assignment is a needs analysis. And this is something that you would normally do when you start with any new class, but for the purposes of the course, you'll choose one learner and you'll build a profile, do a needs analysis for them to help them with their specific problems. So again, very practical in nature because this is something that you normally do when you get a new class. And so in addition to your teaching practices and your written assignments, you are required to do 6 hours of experienced teacher observation. Now, some of these observation hours will be live hours where you'll actually see your tutor teach a Celta lesson to your students, right? And some of these will be recorded observations of other experienced teachers. But throughout the course, right, we want to be able to expose you to different teaching styles, because even though we all use the same frameworks, the methodology, the approaches, everyone's got their own teaching style. And so we want to be able to expose you to the various styles. And so again, these are the main components of the course. And to support all of this teaching practice, written assignment, experienced teacher observation, you have your online platform. Yes, the Cambridge online platform that we call Moodle. And so we'll assign you different units to read up on for each week to prepare you for the teaching practice or the written assignment that's coming up. And so all the unit work here on Moodle is here to support your teaching practices and your written assignments. And so these are the main components of the online course. Any general questions here that I could answer before we move on?
No, thank you.
So, yeah,
sure.
I have a question.
Sure thing, Jeff.
Do we have some variety in the age levels or the, how far along they are, like beginner, intermediate, kids, business students, high schoolers in the practice sessions?
Sure, good question, good question. So the Celta focuses on teaching general English to adults. And so all of your learners will be 18 or over, right? And most of them will be from Latin America. I'd say about 90% are from Latin America. And then we have 10% kind of sprinkled all over the world. So that's kind of the general makeup of the learners. As far as the levels that you'll teach, you're actually required to teach at 2 different levels to complete the Celta course successfully, which means that you will be teaching a low level, for example, pre-intermediate or elementary, and then you'll be teaching a higher level, say upper intermediate or advanced, because it's quite different teaching the different levels. And so, yes, you will work with 2 different tutors on the course, teaching 2 different levels. And these are real language learners, again, mainly from Latin America, and then sprinkled from all over the world, but they're all adults.
Great, thank you.
Sure. Any other questions I could answer for you? Anyone else? Hey, Saul, great to see you. I heard, a couple of you folks joined in. Everyone's named TT, so if you could update your name, that'd be great. Hey, Victor, oh, yes, thank you, thank you. No questions? All right, let's move on. And so we do offer 2 different timetables. Oh,
I
Carlos.
got a question.
Sure thing, Carlos.
Yes.
How can I help you?
All right. I have doubts because I have met some people and they had told me that they had been enrolled in Celta course. I would like to know if it is true that when you enter to this program, you have to go to a place, a distant place. It can be in the beach or the mountain, and you have to stay there for 2 or 3 months or more time. Because that's what they told me, that they have to go to a location that is far away from the place where they live, and they have to practice English every day in that place. After some months, probably 3 months, they come back with their Celta degree. Is that true?
Well, in our case, if you'd like, we do have face-to-face options, which are Mexico City. You said the beach, so Playa del Carmen here in Mexico would be the other face-to-face option. If you choose the face-to-face, it is a 4-week course. So it's 1 month, 4 weeks. Yes. But here we're primarily here to focus on. If you have questions about the face-to-face, please do let me know, because they're both very beautiful locations. Mexico City is in Condesa, beautiful part of Mexico City. And again, Playa del Carmen, you can't beat the beaches there, right? So 2 great places to take the Celta and take a mini vacation perhaps. And again, we do have the fully 100% online course. And so if you want to take the course from the comfort of your home without having to travel, you could take the course fully online. The teaching practices would be done online, obviously, through Zoom. And so for the online courses, we do have 2 different timetables. The first timetable here, and the most commonly taken, is the 12-week course. So this is a part-time course where you'll meet online once a week, again, for about 4 hours. And this would be for your teaching practices, as I described earlier. However, for those of you who are courageous and want to get it done in half the time, we do have the full-time course, which in this case, you would meet twice a week, again, for about 4 hours each session, and you would complete the course in 6 weeks. And so we do have these 2 online options. And then when you're not doing the once a week or twice a week face-to-face sessions, then you'll be studying the unit work on Moodle, as I described, to prepare for the upcoming written assignment or the upcoming teaching practice. Now,
I have a question.
Sure. How can I help you, Pedro?
What is the level of English required that the program requires a person to have to join? Sorry about this, a lot of noise.
No problem, Pedro. Yes, so it's generally a C1 is what Cambridge asks for.
Okay, and do you have like a test before joining the course? You can ensure that the person has that level of English?
Absolutely. Everyone has to go through a Celta interview to be accepted on the course. And so there is an application with several tasks that you would have to complete. Once you submit that, we'll set you up for an interview, and then we'll discuss and accept you on the course if you're acceptable.
Okay, got it.
So that's all part of the process. Absolutely, Pedro, no problem. Any other questions here about the course timetable?
Well, I think it's fine. It depends on the availability of the people, that's going to take a part-time or the full-time.
Sure, absolutely, absolutely. And another thing to keep in mind here is teaching practices are Tuesdays through Saturdays. So not all of these days, but it would be whether you're once a week or twice a week. We do all our teaching practices on Tuesday through Saturdays at either 10 a.m. or 6:30 p.m. Mexico City time, again, to cater to the different time zone for the candidates. And so this is determined once the course roster is finalized. Yes, but these would be the days or times of the teaching practices. Any questions? Good. Moving right along. And so what are some of the reasons to take the Celta with us? Again, of course, our flexible course options, right? You could do the part-time 12-week, the full-time 6-week, or if you prefer, the face-to-face in 4 weeks. Once you are enrolled on the course, we'll actually send you access to our self-study Celta preparation to help you refresh your grammar and introduce you to some of the key concepts that you'll see on the course, just to get you ready for the content that you'll see. Again, you will be provided with the Cambridge Celta platform where you'll have all the units to study, which are there to support your teaching practices and your written assignments. In addition to all of that and your experienced teacher observation, we offer 2 master classes each week. And these master classes, you could join there with your tutor and other peers, and we will cover, this is here to supplement and complement the unit work that you'll study on the course. And so if you needed some clarification or if you needed to ask some questions, it's always nice because you'll have your tutor available there. And we do 2 of these each week covering 2 different topics. Now, you're only required to meet your once or twice a week for your teaching practices, but these are optional classes that we do offer and very well received. And at the end of every Celta course, we have a mini job fair session. So the first part of the session, we'll talk about how to find jobs in the industry, how to set up your CV, what kind of questions they expect in your interview. And then the second half of the session, we actually work with several organizations that recruit teachers all over the world. One works with the State Department for the US and it recruits teachers for accredited schools in the USA. We have another organization that is recruiting teachers for China because they're opening everything back up. And so that's a big opportunity there. We have another one that works in Vietnam. And so if that's maybe interesting for you, we do have an organization working there. And then we just partnered up with a school in Latvia. I never knew that country existed, but they have a huge school, very beautiful, and they are also recruiting teachers. And if we have any local schools rather here in Mexico that are looking for a teacher, they often stop by as well. And so it's a very informal, again, mini job fair where you could kind of pick the brains of the people who are doing the hiring or pick the brains of people who are teaching in these different parts of the world. And so again, this is all part of taking the Celta course here with us. And so talking about these Celta masterclass input sessions, this is where our special guest, Rosie Elsman, comes in. And so she's going to give us just a little taste, right? These input sessions are generally about an hour, hour and a half, but we're going to do one that's a mini input session, about 20, 25 minutes. So you could get a taste of what a Celta input session would be like. And today the topic is teaching grammar through receptive skills. And so we could teach systems and skills all at one time.
Thank you, Tim.
Right, so here is Rosie. There you are. I was looking for you. Yeah, good. Nice. Thank you, Rosie. So yes, the screen's all yours, and have fun. Have fun, you guys.
Okay. Well, thank you everyone for being here and for visiting us for this very short taste of an input session, as we will do with Celta. We will be interacting via the chat box, so please be ready to type answers quickly. And obviously, if you want to participate, you can also raise your hand. As Tim says, we just want to give you a little bit of a taste of how would we teach you how to teach specific skills throughout the course. So today we're going to see how you can teach grammar through receptive skills, right? And if you remember, what are the receptive skills? If someone can tell me, or type it on the chat box. Receptive skills, what are those? Okay, so I have an answer. Reading and listening, exactly. Very good, listening and reading, yes. So, and reading, yeah. So then how can we teach grammar with this? Because normally we do it to develop the students' ability to read and understand text, and also with listening, we do the same, but we are going to see how we can exploit this in order to teach grammar, okay? But first of all, because we are all teachers and maybe you want to be a teacher, what do you think are the main challenges of teaching grammar? For new teachers or even for teachers that have some experience, what do you think would be some of those challenges? If you can share it, or if you can type it on the chat box, or just raise your hand and give us some ideas. Okay, so I have here some input. Sentence pattern, yeah, complexity, yeah, the terminology is also there a problem. Yeah, language one interference, yes, Dolores, I think that's the main problem when our students want to translate directly from Spanish, and it's very difficult to understand the grammar reference in there. Yeah, the moment we say grammar students say like, oh, no, really, again, I've been doing grammar all my life. I just want to speak, right? So that is one of the main challenges for teachers. We have to make it a little bit interactive, and we have to make it a little bit, exactly. So reading and practicing that grammar, exactly, would also be a problem. Yeah, I agree with you. It might be mostly challenging and boring. But today I'm going to teach you how we can make this a little bit interactive, interesting, engaging, but above all, how we can make it a learner-centered lesson. Because when the teacher is talking, it might be a little bit like that situation when it becomes a little bit boring, right? And we don't want that. And sometimes students also have different learning strategies, right? So depending on that, thank you very much, Raul, for that input. Yes, sometimes the students have different abilities and different ways to understand what we are trying to explain. So I prepare for you today a small mini lesson, right? So we can see a little bit about how can we introduce this through receptive skills. Okay, just let me make sure that my audio is going to be shared. Okay, yeah, here we are. Okay, so again, we are going to be interacting a little bit, like we are going to pretend that you are my students, okay? So today you are going to wear the t-shirt of a student, so you see how you will be teaching this in a Celta lesson. So let's start a little bit. So what do you think are the most important life-changing events that people have in their lives? You can type it on the chat box, or you can raise your hand and tell me what are those events that impact our life in general. Okay, so I have some opinions here.
The birth of a son or family member.
Yes, very good. Having a child, marriage, divorce, kids moving out, yes, education, having a degree, very good. And they impact our lives because of what? How would they have, yeah, buying a new house. Yeah, thank you, Dulce. Yeah, moments that are so vivid, exactly, the death of loved ones. Yeah, they impact us because it tampers a little bit with our feelings, right? It has like a lot of emotional value. Okay, excellent, very good. So we are going to listen to a recording, right? So these three people are going to tell us a little bit about their changes in life. So what you have to do at the end of the recording is just to take notes and answer these questions. You have to say whether the people's lives were changed a lot and if the changes were positive or not, okay? So remember, as you listen, just focus on those questions. Right, very good. So education, getting a new job, very good. Okay, so let's see what happened in these three people's lives. So just say if the changes were positive, okay? Ready? Here we go. Let's listen a little bit to what they have to say.
Track 31.
Is the recording clear? Yes, perfect.
Carol.
Yes.
The most important moment in my life was, the day I met Owen. An old friend was having a party, but the weather was so bad that I nearly didn't bother going. Just think, if I'd stayed at home, I wouldn't have met my husband. Anyway, my friend introduced me to Owen and we got on really well. He was only in London for a few days. He's American, you see. And he was supposed to fly back to Boston the following day. But the next morning, Owen called me to say that Heathrow Airport was closed because of ice and snow. He'd have flown home that day if the weather hadn't been so bad. Anyway, he invited me out for lunch and we got to know each other a bit better. He flew home the next day, but by that time we were already madly in love. We got married 2 years later, and the rest, as they say, is history.
Anthony.
For me, probably the biggest turning point in my life was when I lost my job. I was working for an advertising agency, but they got into financial trouble and had to get rid of some people, including me. I got quite depressed at first, but I was getting fed up with working for a big agency anyway, so I decided to start my own online design company. If I hadn't lost my job, I wouldn't have started my own business, but it's been really successful. I've always fancied working from home, and so I moved to the country and bought a nice little cottage. I wouldn't have left London if I'd stayed with the ad agency. I don't get as much money as I used to, but I'm much happier than I was then.
Michelle.
Well, for me, it's probably the day I won my first race. When I was a kid, I used to get into trouble a lot at school, and the only thing I enjoyed was running, which I was always quite good at. Then, one day, my dad took me to the local athletics club. When we got there, I found out that he'd entered me for the 400 metres. I was really nervous, but I won by over 2 seconds. That was the turning point for me. If I hadn't won that race, I'd never have become a serious athlete. I started training really hard, and 3 years later, I managed to get into the British youth athletics team. I've got better as I've got older, and now I want to compete in the next Olympics. So yeah, running's changed my life. If I hadn't started doing this, I'd have got into a lot more trouble. I'm sure of that.
Okay, well, big changes in these people's life. Do you think it was really a lot or just like a little bit? Anybody would like, Pedro?
Well, for the second person, that he was just got fired from his job, and now he started his company. That was a good change. I think that maybe a lot of things that happens to us in the meantime of our life, bad decisions or bad things that happens, becomes a good opportunity to develop ourselves and to find what we really want to do. So I think that for the second person was a really good change.
Okay, excellent. Now here in the chat box, you guys say that there were huge changes, right? Turning your life around. So then we agree that the changes were positive?
Absolutely.
Yes, yes, absolutely. Okay, excellent. So yes, anybody would like to say something else? No? All right.
Yeah.
Carlos?
Hello.
Tell me.
Hello.
The audio gets a bit, Saul, the audio gets a bit.
Yes. You hear, you guys hear?
Yes, I can barely hear you.
Yes, the three person they are especially the first one and
Okay, yeah, exactly. Everybody has like a different, some business, some professional career, and the other one was a little bit about marriage, right? Absolutely huge changes. Okay, thank you. Thank you for that. Now, what we're going to do now is like we are going to listen again, but you guys will need to find the answer to each of the questions. So try to understand really a little bit more in detail, because we will need to answer these questions as we move on. Okay? Are you ready to listen again? Remember, pick up the details because we will need to answer these questions. I'm going to browse a little bit the questions so you guys can see what information you need to find out. Okay? So this is the question number 1. And as you can see, there are some gaps here for you to complete. Okay, so read the sentence. Okay. Question number 2. Oh, sorry. Question number 2. Question number 3. Question number 4. Okay, number 5. And number 6. And I suppose you remember a little bit of that because now it starts to make a little bit of sense, right? What information we need to find out. So let's see, let's listen again so you can actually start picking up some of the content that we need to complete. Okay, I will hide my screen because my internet is a bit weakish, but here we go.
Track 31. Carol.
The most important moment in my life was, the day I met Owen. An old friend was having a party, but the weather was so bad that I nearly didn't bother going. Just think, if I'd stayed at home, I wouldn't have met my husband. Anyway, my friend introduced me to Owen and we got on really well. He was only in London for a few days. He's American, you see. And he was supposed to fly back to Boston the following day. But the next morning, Owen called me to say that Heathrow Airport was closed because of ice and snow. He'd have flown home that day if the weather hadn't been so bad. Anyway.
Sorry.
At home, I wouldn't have met my husband. Anyway, my friend introduced me to Owen and we got on really well. He was only in London for a few days. He's American, you see. And he was supposed to fly back to Boston the following day. But the next morning, Owen called me to say that Heathrow Airport was closed because of ice and snow. He'd have flown home that day if the weather hadn't been so bad.
Okay.
And we got to know each other a bit better. He flew home the next day, but by that time we were already madly in love. We got married 2 years later, and the rest, as they say, is history.
Anthony.
For me, probably the biggest turning point in my life was when I lost my job. I was working for an advertising agency, but they got into financial trouble and had to get rid of some people, including me. I got quite depressed at first, but I was getting fed up with working for a big agency anyway, so I decided to start my own online design company. If I hadn't lost my job, I wouldn't have started my own business, but it's been really successful. I've always fancied working from home, and so I moved to the country and bought a nice little cottage. I wouldn't have left London if I'd stayed with the ad agency. I don't get as much money as I used to, but I'm much happier than I was then.
Michelle.
Well, for me, it's probably the day I won my first race. When I was a kid, I used to get into trouble a lot at school, and the only thing I enjoyed was running, which I was always quite good at. Then, one day, my dad took me to the local athletics club. When we got there, I found out that he'd entered me for the 400 metres. I was really nervous, but I won by over 2 seconds. That was the turning point for me. If I hadn't won that race, I'd never have become a serious athlete. I started training really hard, and 3 years later, I managed to get into the British youth athletics team. I've got better as I've got older, and now I want to compete in the next Olympics. So yeah, running's changed my life. If I hadn't started doing this, I'd have got into a lot more trouble. I'm sure of that.
Okay, so let's see a little bit how we can complete those sentences. Which is the correct answer for this one? The A or B? What would you say? You can tell me. It's A, very good. Si faz.
A.
Okay, good. What about the next one? Is that the A or B? Anybody?
It's B.
Very good. Thank you, Dolores. Excellent. Okay. What about the number 3? If I hadn't.
B.
If I hadn't.
Letter B.
Exactly. I wouldn't have started my own business. Very good. What about the next one?
A.
Okay, letter A. Very good. If I stayed with the agency, I wouldn't have left London. Okay.
Yes.
What about the number 5?
A.
A.
If
Letter
I
A.
hadn't, okay, if I hadn't won, I'd never have become a serious athlete. Okay, and the last one.
B.
Okay, very good. If I hadn't started, I would have gotten into a lot more trouble. Okay, very good. I apologize for my neighbor's dogs. She has 5 dogs, and sometimes they're a bit noisy, so sorry for that. Excellent, good job. So then we already start getting a little bit into the juicy part of grammar. So let's see how in a Celta lesson, we are going to analyze this again. You are my students, and let's see how you can solve the problem. How can you solve the riddle? So we are going to do these activities. Then normally I prepare them in this. It's a Jamboard, which by the way, will also give you a little bit of an insight into what apps you can use for teaching. Okay, very good. So what we have to do then, I'm going to give you access to this, and then all of you together, let me know if you can access this. You will be able to move a little bit these boxes. Okay, can you click on that link? Let me know if you can actually access this page that I have displayed.
Yeah.
Okay, very good. As you can see, we have here, yes, those boxes. If you can access it, can you start putting them in each of the sentences? Just move them a little bit. Very good. Very good. I see people are already completing the sentence. Good. Okay, I wouldn't have started. Okay, excellent. Very good, very good. Now, let's answer these questions together. You can take a little bit of a sticky note and then you can write your answer there. So are these sentences examples of real situations or they are like hypothetical situations? You can take a sticky note here and then you can write your answer. Are they real or are they hypothetical? Okay. Are they real situations or are they hypothetical? Let's vote a little bit.
Yes, that may happen to somebody else, you know. So I think that they are half and half real, half hypothetical. So in this both.
Okay, but in this case, because he said, if I hadn't lost my job, obviously it's something that happened to someone, but in this case, the situation is describing something that is hypothetical. He's thinking, if I hadn't lost my job, I wouldn't have started my own business. If I had stayed at home, I wouldn't have met my husband. Or if I had stayed at home, I wouldn't have met my husband. Right? So in this case, they are mostly describing a hypothetical situation. Okay, because we are just talking about something that is not happening right now. Okay, now these events occur in the present or in the past?
In the past.
In the past, very good. Can these events be changed?
No.
Not anymore, because they are in the past, right? We still don't have a machine, a time machine to go back and change them. Very good. So you got the hang of this Jamboard. Excellent. Now, since you are becoming very good with this Jamboard, I think you guys can go to the next slide. And what we have to do, okay, so this is the same. Let me just give you the other one. So now we have here the examples, and what you have to do is put these stickies in order so we can identify what is the structure that we are talking about. Remember, we're talking about hypothetical situations in the past, and they cannot be changed because they already occurred, okay? So what do you think would be the structure? Like here we can start a sentence with if, like the sentence number 1, or we can start with he, which is the subject, if we start with the subject there. So can you just try to put it here, move the stickies where you think they belong? Okay, we don't need to add any, they are already there. Okay, very good. Someone is good at this. Excellent. Okay. Very good. Okay, very good. Excellent. Past participle. Okay. Okay. Also, we are missing here another subject, right? Because here
Yes,
we need
there's.
another subject. Very good.
I think that after if, there's a subject missing.
Here after if we have the subject, okay. And here we also have the had plus the past participle, okay. Very good.
Isn't it missing a subject?
No, we have here if. Yeah, we are also missing a subject, okay. We need another
There,
subject here.
Yes.
Very good.
If I
If I, okay,
If I or
auxiliary.
if
I
he or
had
somebody else.
stayed at home,
And then we have the subject,
Now
and then
you
would.
I would or wouldn't.
And then
But
we
it's-
need also the
But it's
auxiliary.
wouldn't have, right? Wouldn't have.
Okay, so then
would
we
have,
need the
yes.
auxiliary, the
Mhm.
auxiliary have, okay.
So the other goes here.
Okay, so you agree that is correct now? Okay, so would, auxiliary, past participle, if, subject, auxiliary. Very good, very good. Now, what is something that you notice? If we start the sentence with if, we normally have a comma to separate the cause and the effect, right? Or what we call the main clause and the result clause. But what happens if we start with the subject and we invert the order? What happened with that comma?
It disappear?
Disappear.
Exactly, it disappears, we don't need it anymore, okay? So it's very important to know that if the if is at the beginning, this is the structure. If we start with the subject or the result clause at the beginning, then we don't need the comma, right? So then this is the result clause, and in this case, this is the result clause, right? So they can be changed into different orders. Very good, so you are actually very good at this. Good job, guys. Okay, so this is the way we analyze the structure. Now I can move my. Oh, there we go. Okay. Now, when we are talking about pronunciation, I'm going to read the sentence, and you're going to tell me if this circle is correctly placed with the words that are more prominent. Right? So for example, if I say, just think, if I stayed at home, I wouldn't have met my husband. Just think, if I stayed at home, I wouldn't have met my husband. Do you think this is correct? These are the words that are more prominent? Yes, I wouldn't have met my husband, right? The voice goes a little bit down. What happened in here if I say at home? What do you notice with these words? If I stayed at home, I wouldn't have met my husband. If I stayed at home.
The intonation rises.
Ah, the intonation rises. Exactly. Very good. So it is a little bit of like an up and down rhythm. Okay. So Edith, can you read the question with this emphasis and the intonation going up and down?
Sure. Just think, if I stayed at home, I wouldn't have met my husband.
Okay, very good. What about this one? Which words do you think would be more emphasized? He would have flown back home if the weather hadn't been so bad. He would have flown back home if the weather had been so bad.
There's stressing would have, sorry.
He
Yeah.
would have flown back.
Would've, yeah.
He would have
Okay.
flown back home, another one there, home, if the weather, I think that's correct, hadn't been so bad.
Okay, very good. So let's see, Pedro, can you read the sentence?
He would have flown back home if the weather hadn't been so bad.
Excellent. If you notice here, most of the time, if we have an affirmative sentence, we normally have a contraction, right? So native speakers normally don't say he would have, right? He normally say he would have, right? Can you help me, Maria Dolores, with the same sentence?
There I am. Okay. He would have flown back home if the weather hadn't been so bad.
Exactly. Now, Jeff, can you read the last sentence and then everybody will hear or will listen and tell us which words you stress a little bit more? The number 3.
If I hadn't lost my job, I wouldn't have started my own business.
Okay. So which words did he emphasize more?
Job.
Job.
Job. If I hadn't lost my job.
Started. And then just it's go down when you just say my own business. So I think that my
own
job
business.
and the startup are the main emphasis pronunciation that he made.
Exactly. Now, can you help me, Karen, with the sentence?
If I hadn't lost my job, I wouldn't have started my own business.
Excellent. Very good. Excellent. So, as you can see, when we are doing this analysis, what did we analyze in the first slide that we had? If you can help me now with your teacher eyes. When we answer these questions, what were we analyzing? This one over here. We analyze if are they hypothetical, are they real, are they past? So what are we analyzing?
Like the uses when we use this structure?
Exactly, very good. So we are actually focusing on meaning and use. So in any Celta lesson, when we are going to analyze language, we basically go into meaning and use. Ideally, in a situation, we send the students to a breakout room and the students do this independently without the teacher's intervention, right? So then we let our students experiment a little bit. So then they try to create their own hypotheses. These will help them to get a little bit more insight into what the structure we are analyzing, right? So first we analyze the meaning, and then in the next slide, what were we analyzing here? We were analyzing what in here?
The structure, the
The
grammar.
structure.
Yes.
Exactly. So we were talking a little bit about the rules of sentence structure. In this case, we focus on form. Right? So in any Celta lesson, we also have to cover meaning first, and then we focus a little bit on form. Again, ideally the students do this independently without the teacher's intervention to test the hypothesis, to experiment a little bit, again with the structure on their own. And what do we do here in the last one? What are we
Pronunciation and
Pronunciation.
intonation.
Pronunciation.
Exactly. So we focus on pronunciation, we focus intonation, a little
Emphasis.
bit of connected speech. Exactly. So that emphasis is actually sentence stress. When we are teaching advanced level, or even if we are teaching elementary level, we want our students to do or to discover a little bit what is that intonation, because when we are second language speakers, we tend to mix a little bit our mother tongue with that of the English language. So we want to model like the closest we can to the way English is spoken by native speakers, right? So that's why we give the students this particular practice. Now, what do you think should follow in a grammar presentation class? After this analysis, the students are ready for what?
To make their own sense. Well, not to make them, but to test if the rules apply for other examples.
Exactly. So we normally give them a control practice, where we create a little bit of similar situation like this, and then they will have to choose a little bit, like experiment with the different possibilities there are. So normally we create a task where they have to conjugate or change the verbs, or sometimes we can give them incorrect sentences so they can correct them. Obviously, since they have already experimented with the rule, it's going to be a little bit easier for them to do that. So after this, we do a control practice. I'm not doing it this time because it's basically for just for you to know how we do a Celta session. And after the control practice, what do you think the students need to do next? What would be next after they already practice completing gaps?
It could be semi-control or free practice.
Exactly. It could be semi-control or it could be free practice. Exactly. So basically, this would be a little bit of a free practice, right? So then the students have to go to the breakout rooms and then they have to say, how about you? What life-changing events have you experienced? And basically, they will have an opportunity to practice what they learn throughout the different stages of language presentation that we have. Okay, so that would be a little bit the way that we are exploiting a very simple passage or a conversation, and we just exploit it to really bring it a little bit more vivid and a little bit more interactive to the students. Do you remember how do we call that approach when the students have to do all the analysis and the teacher only monitors? Do you remember what is that called?
Guided discovery?
Yes, very good. That's a guided discovery. Excellent. And with guided discovery, the teacher only monitors. And then at the end, the teacher gives a feedback on the performance of the participants or the students, right? So you guys are more than ready to do Celta because you already know about guided discovery. You already know about meaning, form, use, pronunciation. So you already have a very good beginning for this. Thank you for listening to me. I know this was very short. We normally do this in 45 minutes, but for this, we have to cut it short, all the fun. So my apologies, but I hope that you get ready for more. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Rosie. Yeah, it's really hard to do so much in such little time. And I think you did a really nice job. And Rosie gave us a bonus. We did some receptive skills at the beginning, right? Listening. We learned some grammar in the middle, and the bonus was there was some productive practice at the end too. And so it's a well-rounded lesson all around. So thank you very much, Rosie. So yeah, it's just a little taste of these masterclass input sessions that you could attend twice a week as part of your course. And we're nearing the end here. Did anyone have any questions for Rosie? I just saw her come back. And so did anyone have any questions for Rosie before we move on very quickly? Nope. Okay. And she'll be here at the end as well for questions and answers. So good, good. And so I know many of you here for the prizes that we're giving away. So I do have 4 prizes to give away. So So if you are a winner, you can choose one of these 4 options. So if you want, go ahead and grab a screenshot of this. I'll come back to this later as well. But again, if you are a winner, you will have the option of one of these 4. And so if all 4 winners choose the same option, that's okay. All right, you guys. So if you're a winner, you do have the option to one of these 4 fabulous prizes. So option number 1 would be a customized CV revision. So maybe after the course, after you've done the job session, we could sit down and have a customized session to get together your CV, especially now that you have your Celta certificates. That's option 1. Option 2 is the 2023 subscription to our continued professional development webinar series. And so you'll get access to the past months and access to the future months for 2023. Option 3 is a option for 50% off the IH Live online English classes. And this is higher level, right? Teaching level C1, C2, and which also includes free access to the live online platform. That's option 3. Option 4, again, some of you might be preparing for your IELTS because again, Cambridge does want a C1 level. And so if that's the case, we offer a IELTS preparation course, which you could also take advantage of. And so again, I'll come back to this. If you grab a screenshot, wonderful, but I will come back to this, but I want to show you all the wheel of names. So please make sure you see your name here. If your name is TT on the Zoom camera, I don't know your name, so I couldn't put it here. I have one more TT. If you could update your name, I could add you to the list. But does anyone not see their name on the wheel?
Me, I'm one
My name is
TT.
Maria Jose.
I
Okay.
hope I am the only Carlos because
Okay,
sometimes
here.
my
I'll
name
do this.
is
Maria
several times
Jose,
repeated.
Carlos, Ecuador. Okay.
And also Maria Dolores.
Maria Dolores. Does anyone else not see their name here?
Me, Teresa.
Teresa?
Yes.
Yes, you're my TT. Anyone else?
Yeah, I don't know why.
I know Zoom is doing funny things. Okay, so this is everyone. Sorry, Rosie, you can't join. You can't win. Sorry. Everyone else, though, please make sure going once. If you don't see your name, let me know. Going twice. All right. Just check the chat here. TT3, somebody has okay. Excellent. So this is everyone. Let me go ahead and spin the wheel for winner number 1. Pedro Romay. Congratulations. So Pedro, you can think about which prize that you want to take advantage of. So I'm going to take Pedro Romain off the list. We have 3 more prizes here to give away. Oh, Pedro didn't come off the list, but you can't win twice, Pedro Romain. Karen, you are winner number 2. So again, think about which prize you want to take advantage of. All right. All right, I have 2 more to give away here. We have Pedro and Karen so far as winners. Our 3rd winner is Saul. Congratulations, Saul. Think about which prize you would like. And our last spin.
Yes, thank you very much.
Yes, yes, congratulations. Our last spin goes to Carlos. Carlos Ecuador, the only Carlos we have here today. Congratulations,
Wow, that
Carlos.
sounds wonderful.
Congratulations,
So
congratulations. Excellent, guys. But don't leave yet because I'm not done. Like I told you at the beginning, if you're one of the winners, please do think about one of these options. If you didn't win with the spin, don't worry. everyone is a winner today for joining us tonight. Celta focuses on teaching English, again, general English to adults. But we understand here at IH Mexico that teaching online is here to stay in the industry, right? And so we have another course that we normally sell separately for $300. It's the teaching online course. And this kind of picks up where Celta leaves off. So if you ever hired to teach online, you may have to manage synchronous lessons, asynchronous lessons. You may have to manage content platforms. And so this course takes you through some of those areas. So by the end of the course, you'll have your Celta certificate that says you know how to teach English, and we're going to throw in the teaching online course for free. So you have a second certificate apart from your Celta that says you can teach online. Saul, do you have a question?
Yes, Mr. Could you hear me?
Yes.
Okay. That's all.
Oh, okay, sure. No problem.
Apologize.
Absolutely. So again, everyone here that's today, if you do enroll here with us, we will throw in, and even if you want a prize, we're going to throw this in, right? So everyone gets this for being here today. We're going to throw in this extra course of the teaching online course, which again will give you a second certificate, right? And on top of everything else, if you register within the next 72 hours, you don't have to register for the next course, but if you register within the next 72 hours for one of the courses this year, IH is going to give you 10% off. Now, please listen when I say this. IH does not give discounts very often. And so if you're thinking about taking the Celta course, on top of all the other stuff we're going to give you, this 10% off is a huge deal. And so if you register within the next 72 hours, again, it doesn't have to be for the next course, but as long as it's one of the courses this year, you will receive that 10% off in addition to the teaching online course. And so here are some of the dates, actually here in the left-hand column. You could see the dates for the part-time course. So these are the rest of the dates for this year. And then here in the center section, I do have dates for the full-time course. This is through the summer. I have some more dates to the end of the year, but it didn't fit. So if you have a question about that, please do let me know. And then over here on the right-hand side, I do have information about our face-to-face course. So we have one in Riviera Maya and one in Mexico City, which are, again, 4-week courses. So if you're interested in that, I do have that information there for you. So again, for being here today. Again, congratulations to the 4 winners. I'll talk to you in just a moment to see which prize you want to take advantage of. And for everyone else, if you register within the next 72 hours, again, not only do you get the 10% off, not only do you get the teaching online course for free, we will also give you access to the pre-Celta self-study platform, again, to help you refresh your grammar and introduce you to the content of the course so you're ready from day one. And we could immediately fast track you, get you through that interview, that process, right? We'll get you the application through the interview and you'll get right on it. So any general questions here that I could answer for you now that you have all the goodies? No other questions here? Okay, you guys are easy. Let me get rid of my chicken scratches here. Sorry, guys. Here we go. All right. Annotation tool.
Just a question because I couldn't hear very well. Did I understand that we all got the online teaching certificate course for free?
That's right. So
yeah.
Yes, but you do have to register on a Celta course, again, within the next 72 hours.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
And so again, you don't have to register right for the May 22nd course, which is the next course coming up. You could register for something towards the end of the year or later in the summer. That's fine. You just have to register within the next 72 hours to take advantage of all these extra goodies.
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah. Sorry about that. So, Mr. Tim, a question.
Sure.
Yes, this course that we just take right now, that you all give us, Do you all gonna give us a certificate or not?
At the end of the Celta course, you will get a certificate from Cambridge. Because this is a Cambridge moderated course.
I understand, but it's free or we gotta pay something or?
For the Celta course?
Yes, for all.
Well, the Celta course itself, I have the price right up here. The Celta course, 100% online, has this price here, but again,
$16.90
USD, right? This is in US dollars, but again, you get that 10% off if you register in the next 72 hours. Go ahead, Maria.
Okay, I got it. I got you. Yeah.
All right. Maria Dolores?
Yeah, the online part-time course, it's on Saturdays or?
So again, the teaching practices could be Tuesday through Saturdays, one of those days for the part-time course. And this will be determined once we know where everyone's connecting from and taking the course to help accommodate for time zones. And so, yes, it will be Tuesday through Saturday, either again, 10 a.m. or 6:30 p.m. Mexico City time. And this is one of the first things we'll do right before the course or right when the course starts, is get everyone together to see what's going to work for the group as a whole.
Yes, because, well, I don't know my classmates, but probably they would be working like the whole week, the whole day. So it's difficult to take classes during the week, just Saturday. So that's why I am asking if we are going to be able to take classes.
Sure. We do have several Celta courses that have Saturday. I can't guarantee that for every single course, but they do come around in rotation. So if that's the one that you need, I could project and say, okay, in this month, we're going to have one. And so this is when you could apply, right? And so, yes, and we always do our best to try to accommodate everyone on the course. And so with advance notice, if you could let your interviewer know, hey, this is what I need, we'll have that in the notes and we could definitely plan for that as well.
Great, thank you.
Absolutely, yes. But Saturday morning and Saturday evening is an option. Go ahead, Maria.
Yeah, another question. Is there a special form for the payments?
As far as payment goes, it'll be done online and you could pay in your currency. It's a platform called flywire.com. And so you could pay in your currency and it'll convert it into the dollars for you. Or if you want to pay in dollars, you could pay in dollars as well. But it would be through an online platform.
Oh, okay. Thank you.
Of course. Any other questions I could answer for you here? Jeff?
Yes. So my Spanish level is intermediate. And I'm wondering, of the people who come to your job fairs, what, if any, level of Spanish do they expect of the employers? In Latin America, of course.
I mean, this would depend. There's plenty of teachers out there that don't speak a lick of English, that don't speak any Spanish, and they're hired because they're English teachers, not Spanish teachers, right? And so it's definitely very possible to get a job without having any Spanish, right? Because teaching English, this would mean, I mean, okay, so maybe you're in Russia, you're teaching Russians, or maybe you have a group full of international students, you wouldn't necessarily have that common language unless you specifically chose it, right? A country where you speak the language. And so we do teach you how to teach English without having to use the native tongue. That's definitely part of Celta.
That's good to know. I'm wondering though, of the people who come to you, who come to IH looking for Celta graduates, how often do you see people who are like, they require a high level, like an advanced or native level of Spanish?
Very few, if any. I can't even think of one that would say if you don't speak Spanish, you don't get the job. Obviously, if it's like a coordinator position, something like that, that might be different. But as an English teacher, it would certainly help you, right? Just because you wouldn't struggle so much with the language barrier and paperwork and so on and so forth. But I've never heard of it being a requirement as such that you need a certain level of Spanish to teach English, or a certain level of a foreign language to teach English.
Got it. Thank you.
Because when I first came to Spanish, my Spanish knowledge was "Cómo estás?" and "Dónde está el baño?" Right? And that was 5 years ago. I specifically moved here to Mexico because I wanted to learn Spanish. And what better way than to immerse myself in the language? So I've done just fine. Me personally, I can't say for anyone else, but I started out just fine knowing no Spanish. And now at this point, because I've been here for a number of years, my Spanish has improved. But yeah.
Yeah, I think the main benefit is for you as a professional, because unfortunately here in Latin America, employers actually don't know the benefits of Celta, and well, it is you who will outstand among other teachers. So
Yeah,
that is for you. Yes.
And yeah, and that's a really good point, right? Because you would have the advantage of, hey, I teach English, I have a CELTA certificate, plus I have this level of Spanish. And again, especially for paperwork and that kind of stuff, it's going to facilitate things. But as far as like to officially get the job, I've not heard of a requirement. A preference maybe, but not a requirement. Any other questions I could answer? And while we're doing questions here, the 4 winners, if you could do me a favor in private chat, please send me your email address and please send me the option of the prize you would like. Yes, and you could do that in private chat so you don't share your information with everyone here. That would be great. And if any of you are interested in registering here in the next 72 hours or thinking they want to get more information, let Rosie know. She's here floating around actually. Yeah, there she is. And so let her know, and she could actually get in touch with you about the application, so on and so forth, to get you guys started. Yeah, so again, Rosie's absolutely amazing. She's involved with so many parts of CELTA.
Yes, I have written my email, so please get in touch with me to make sure that you apply in those 72 hours and get the discount. Send me an email and I will guide you through the admission process.
Absolutely. And so we try to help you out, the best we can from the get-go. So again, full support from before the course all the way through after the course. And that's definitely one of the advantages of taking the course with us. And again, any questions here for anyone out there? Any questions? I'd be more than happy to answer. All right, so my 4 winners, again, just to remind you, are Pedro, R, Pedro Roman, Karen, Saul, and Carlos. Carlos, Ecuador. So again, please in private chat, send me your email address and which prize you would like to take advantage of. And again, take down Rosie's email so you can get in touch with her to get registered, because once you're registered, I could submit your prizes. Yes. And so,
Can you please remind us the prices or the auctions we have?
Sure, let me go back. Here are the 4 options for the winners. Yes, excellent, excellent. And so again, if you have any questions, I'm here. Rosie is here to answer any questions about the course itself, about registering, about applying, about any of the prizes. Let me go ahead and stop the recording here because I just